Hi, everyone, and welcome to our monthly ambassador briefing. If you haven't been here before, and there's a lot of names that I don't recognize, so glad to have all you folks here. We do these Zooms once a month, and we cover a variety of topics. Today, we will have two guest speakers, two of our ambassadors, discuss the importance of living donation, and then one of my colleagues, Lindsay Gill, will give an update on state legislation. And then I will talk about our legislative fly-in, which is now called the Kidney Action Summit. And then afterwards, we will take any and all questions that you all have. Okay, so I would first like to introduce Ellery Payton, who he holds a special place in my heart because he was the very first ambassador I ever spoke to when I started at the American Kidney Fund about 5 years ago. So, Ellery, if you want to just take a moment or two and just talk about your experience with donation and describe why it's important to support living donation.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ben, for that introduction. Yes, my name is Ellery Payton, as been stated, and living donation definitely holds a special place in my heart because I am a two-time kidney living donor, recipient. And to me, the actual donor is the hero. Although we tend to get a lot of the credit, but to me, the donor is the hero, and especially in my instance, I'm a single father. I had my first transplant in 2003. And at that point, I was really, 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 really sick to the point where they had told me that there was nothing left to do that they could do the doctor wise. So having a person to come in and actually save my life definitely, holds a dear spot in my heart forever. And not only once did that happen, it happened twice. So being a double kidney transplant recipient and having someone to do that out of the kindness of their heart is really it's just the magnitude of that. It's just something that you just can't explain, and you never can say thank you enough, and you can never give enough of yourself. So I definitely think that the living donor donation program that we are working with now is very important to definitely get the word out and make sure that we can get a lot more people helped and saved, because we definitely want to make sure that everybody that's living with kidney disease gets that help.
And I would like to thank Ellery because he has come to Annapolis with us. I can't even remember how many times now, and now done a lot of virtual testifying, um, talking about the different legislation that helps kidney donors. So I'd like to thank Ellery for all that work. And then now I would like to introduce Megan Craig, one of our ambassadors, all the way up in freezing Syracuse, New York.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Megan, as Ben said. So I actually recognize a few people on this call from my work with the National Kidney. Yeah, hi Della, how's it going? From my work with the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. But in 2011, I was a living donor for a little boy named Evan, who's actually going to turn 11 years old next week. So he's getting old now, I guess. But back in 2011, he was just a baby, and he was born with non-functioning kidneys. So he started dialysis just a few days after he was born. And luckily, we were a really solid match. So that kidney has been working since 2011. It's been working really well. And he hasn't needed another one yet. So fingers crossed on that. But I think the reason Ben asked me to talk to is because when I worked with the National Kidney Foundation in Illinois before I moved to freezing cold Syracuse from freezing cold Chicago, by the way, I worked with Ben and a couple of his colleagues on getting a Living Donor Protections Act passed. In Illinois, we had a bunch of advocates, many of whom I'm sure are crossovers with AKF here, come to the Illinois State House and help us petition everyone there to try to get that passed, and we were successful. And that was in 2019.
I think 18? So. Maybe 18. I don't know.
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I think 2019. I think it was 2019. But yeah, so it was great. I did hear from, I've only heard from one person. I left not too long after that for Syracuse, but I did hear from one person who benefited from the law in Illinois, which was, it was a great story to be able to hear. She donated to her cousin as a living donor, and she was a truck driver, and she was a long haul truck driver, and she couldn't work for a while after her donation, but without those protections, you know, her work was talking about potentially her having to take an unpaid leave and things like that. So she was able to talk through the Illinois law with them and make sure that her job was there for her when she was recovered from being a living donor. So it's important stuff.
And it's also important to point out that Megan was an altruistic donor. She just decided to donate and just happened to be paired with a really cute, I guess, probably really cute 1-year-old, and he was still really cute a couple of years ago in Chicago. So I just always loved Megan's story because she just decided to donate one time. And so I'd like to thank both Ellery and Megan for sharing their story today. I know we have lots of other stories that we could share, but I would like to transition now into giving Lindsay an opportunity to speak and give an update on state legislation that we're working on.
Great, thanks, Ben. And thanks, Megan and Ellery, for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. Ben, I'm happy to share my screen if that works best, or
yeah, hold on, I'm making you a co-host right now, so I think you should be able to share.
Perfect. Awesome. Great. So I will share my screen. Is everyone able to see this? I believe you should be able to. Okay. Fantastic. I know. Okay. Shoot. All right. Uh-oh. Now there's subtitles. Let me. All right. And sorry if this looks a little funky. I know I have the double screens going on right now, so it might look a little weird, but you able to see it, Ben? Looks okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, hi, everyone. Wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Gill. I'm the Associate Director of State Policy and Advocacy here at the American Kidney Fund. It's actually my 7th month here, so I don't know everyone on the call, but I see a few familiar faces, so it's great to see some of you. But what I'm going to be doing is kind of giving you a rundown of what's happened in January so far at the state level, and also kind of give you a high-level overview of what we're working on. And I know you hear from Ben and a lot of other of our team members what's happening at the federal level, but we are working quite heavily in the states as well, in different state capitals all across the US. So we're working in all 50 states, you know, working on a variety of different issues that I'll give you a rundown here. So I think, you know, to kick it off, you know, Living Donor Protection Act is, of course, one of our biggest priorities. And Ellery and Megan, I think you kind of shed some light on that. So I appreciate you sharing those stories. But essentially, what this bill does is prohibits insurance companies from discriminating against people based on their status as a living organ donor. So, you know, this is a very, very big priority for us at AKF. And right now we have 11 states that are planning on introducing this legislation or strengthening current living donor protections. And you can see some of the states there that are going to be introducing this legislative session. But we're also going to be launching a Living Donor Protection Act report card actually in the next few weeks, the week of February 8th. And what this report card does is it's a great comprehensive map of all 50 states and all of the living donor protections in each of those states, and it gives them a grade. So you can see the grade that your state has, what protections they have, and then what you can do to further you know, create more protections for living organ donors. The second priority that we're working on is actually a chronic kidney disease task force. This bill was actually passed in Illinois and Texas last legislative session last year. And what this bill really does is create a task force of multiple different stakeholders to really study CKD. It will also address the need for awareness, prevention, and early detection of kidney disease. So this is an extremely important bill to really curb the instances of kidney disease that's increasing year over year at least a 5% rate. So we are working to try and slow that down and curb that increase. So there's 3 states that we're working on this year to introduce this. It's in Colorado, Louisiana, and Oregon. So we're really excited about that. A few other efforts that we're working on that I won't dive too deep into. And one of these issues is actually new to our organization that we're going to be supporting in quite a few different states, is this non-discrimination in organ transplantation laws. So this bill would prohibit discrimination against potential organ transplant recipients based solely on their developmental or intellectual disabilities. So this bill is being introduced in Arkansas and 9 other states this year. We're also working on copay accumulator bills. It's a really big priority for chronic kidney disease patients because we want to, make sure that the cost of prescription medicines is, can be affordable and have patients get access to the medications that they need. So this bill would make insurers count copay coupons and things of that nature to count towards your cost sharing requirements. So you're either out of pocket, max, or deductible. And then finally, we're also working on Medigap legislation in a couple of states, and this would provide supplemental insurance to ESRD patients who are under 65. So 20 states currently have this law on the books, and we're working across the states to try and get this introduced in others, so we can, provide this supplemental insurance to those that are under 65. As far as January and what's been going on this month, just to give everyone an understanding of what happens at the beginning of each year in the legislative sessions in the states, 45 of 50 states begin their legislative session. So there's only a handful that do not start in January. Some start in April or a little later in the year, or some have off years where they, do it every other year. But what this means right now is there's a lot of virtual activity happening across the country. So working on a variety of those issues that I had talked about. So, unfortunately, we will not be, going to Annapolis with Ellery or going to other state houses like Megan had did, when she was in Illinois, but we're doing it, safely in our home this year. And, just to give everyone an update, we're actually going to be posting an advocacy blog post each month for the activity that had happened in each month prior. So at the beginning of each month, you'll kind of get a recap of what's going on. So you can, in February, really, again, take a look at what we accomplished in January and each month thereafter. So it's going to be called What's Happening in the States blog series. So just to show you what has actually happened, I have a few pictures up here that you can see, and Ellery is actually on one of these in the virtual hearing that Ben had talked about for a bill in Maryland, and that bill would increase the income tax from $7,500 to $10,000 for certain expenses paid or incurred by a living organ donor. So this is, expanding some of the living donor protections just so they can be able to, be able to afford being a living organ donor and incentivize folks to be a living organ donor. So both of these bills, is HB 10 and SB 48, it had a hearing. We actually expect the bill to pass unanimously. It has not had a vote yet, but we are expecting it to pass unanimously out of the committee that I testified in and Ellery testified in, and as well as another AKF colleague, Shayla Harris, testified in as well. The other bill in Maryland is HB 167 and SB 290. This is the copay accumulator bill that I had previously talked about, and they have a bill in both the House and Senate. The House had a hearing 2 weeks ago, and the Senate is having a hearing on February 10th. In Washington, there was an LDPA bill that we were working on, and we did have some other ambassadors testify. So when we do have these hearings, it's great to have our ambassadors, actively participate and, potentially speak in front of lawmakers. It's a really great experience and something that we really encourage folks to do if that's of interest to you. So I believe that's it for the January updates. I'm happy to answer questions, or if we want to go on to Ben's slide. I know he has a lot to talk about, our Kidney Action Summit, whichever you prefer, Ben.
Oh, yeah, we can take questions and then we can go to my slide. So everyone, I believe, is muted. So if you have a question, if you can just unmute yourself, or you can do the raise the hand function in the attendee list and I can unmute you. Any questions before we move on? Okay, Lindsay, you can just move on to my slide, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So just want to talk to everybody about our Kidney Action Summit with the subhead there. Please apply. We would love to have everybody on this call apply for it because this is our largest advocacy event of the year. But we use the applicant list throughout the year. And actually, some people who have applied, I've already reached out to do state level advocacy work. And, we are always unfortunately limited in the amount of money, not the amount of money, the amount of people that we can accept for the Kidney Action Summit. But by no means is that a reflection on the value of anyone's story or a lack of recognition of their effort. We mix it up between people who have attended before, people who have not attended before. There's always some congressional districts that we try to get people from, being that this is a new Congress. There's some congressional districts we're looking at that we might not have targeted before, but we do advocacy throughout the year, and especially doing more on the state level this year. So I highly encourage everyone to apply. And just so that you know, the congressional meetings part of the Kidney Action Summit will be held on March 17th. We can't give you the times yet of the meetings because we haven't accepted folks. And then once folks are accepted, then we reach out to the offices to schedule the meeting. So they would be pretty much at any point throughout the day. Everybody would have one meeting with their representative and then 2 meetings with the Senate staff, maximum. Sometimes we're not able to get a meeting, but we certainly still try. And then the training day that we'll be having in advance of the Kidney Action Summit is going to be March 10th at 2 p.m. And then on the training day, we'll go over an update on the major issues that are of importance to the American Kidney Fund, give a little explanation of the bills that are currently there on Capitol Hill, and then we'll do some practice on telling your story, because the most important part about the Kidney Action Summit is the ambassadors like yourselves, because believe it or not, everything you see on TV about elected officials on Capitol Hill, it doesn't really begin to tell the story of how Capitol Hill works. The primary thing that people want in the meeting is their constituents, and they want to hear the stories. And the stories is really what helps set things different. And there's some folks here on the call who have been doing advocacy with us over the years, and they can tell you that their stories are remembered by the staff that they meet with. So it's always important to make sure that you tell your story, and that's why we do the training on it. And I would also like to say another reason why the applicant list is so valuable for us is we do a lot of what we call the in-district meetings, and that is meetings with the staff of your representative and senators back home. And the staff back home can be, just as important as the staff in DC. And, the staff back home in the district, they tend to be in the offices longer, year after year. And so we've also made good connections with those offices that, we've done the meetings, and it really helps us do sort of a 360 approach to advocating on our issues. Let me check the comment here. So John asked if we can put the link to register in the chat. Yes, we can do that. Actually, Lindsay, I don't know if you can steal it from the slide, but one of the reasons we switched from just sending out the link to the Zoom to doing registration is, since we have everyone's email, it's much easier to do follow-up. So I'm going to email the application link to everybody, and I'll send some other things there as well, so people can be updated. Oh, thanks, Kate, for posting the link there. So I hope registering for this wasn't too cumbersome, but it really makes it, I think, a better experience for all you attendees, because then, like I said, the follow-up is much easier. So that is just my little spiel about the Kidney Action Summit. Don't know if anybody has any questions. If anybody is interested in already doing advocacy on the state level, or just with the local offices for your members of Congress, we're more than happy to begin working on that. Without naming any names, there's already some folks in this chat that I'm trying to do those in-district meetings with. So we're more than happy to work with all of you. Okay, so I'll open it up to questions if anybody has any.
Ben, I have a question.
Go ahead, Tamara.
Hello, everybody. So what about Georgia? I'm here in Georgia. We've got 2 new senators here in Georgia. I'm excited about that. Have you heard about how we can connect with them at all?
So that's a good question. For folks who have new members of Congress, one issue with doing good advocacy with them right now is a lot of them are not necessarily fully staffed up yet. And what happens when you get a new member of Congress is a lot of times their staff ends up being the campaign staff at first, and then the campaign staff doesn't necessarily stay as long, because campaign work is totally different from congressional work. And then also when people staff up at the very beginning, at the very, very beginning, the issue areas that they cover might not necessarily be their issue of expertise. If a new member of Congress is short a few staffers, hypothetically, Lindsay might have health under her purview, but a few months later, once they're fully staffed, they're not. So for the newer members, on a ambassador level, we do try and wait just a little bit to see if they are fully staffed up. But with the senators, I'm sure we've already done some outreach with them. But I'll definitely talk with my colleagues and see what we've done in Georgia already. Tamara, do you have a new House member, do you know, or is it just the new senators?
I'm not sure about the House.
Okay, well, I can check it up and let you know. Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Hey, Ben, it's
Yep.
Mike. Quick question.
Hey.
So I know we were able to get a meeting last time with Senator Schumer's office.
Mhm.
Him becoming the majority leader, does that necessarily help or hurt our situation? Obviously, the majority leader has more influence, but is it just that he's so much busier, or his office so much busier, it might actually be counterproductive to what we're trying to do?
No, so we've actually had a good relationship with Senator Schumer's office. We've done work with him throughout the years, and I don't know if Stephanie Dixon is on the call, but we did an in-district with his staff. I forget where the office was, but it was in Manhattan that we did the in-district. So we have a good relationship with his staff. So with a situation like that, it's just a bonus for us that he's the majority leader. It doesn't necessarily change so much because he was the minority leader before, so he was still in a position of power. But we do have a good relationship with his office, and we will certainly be continuing with that. And I will point out that's another reason why the advocacy that we do is important with every member, because you never know who your member will end up being down the line, and we don't want to start, trying to have a relationship with a member of Congress once they're the Speaker of the House or they're the President of the Senate. We want the relationship starting, when they come to Capitol Hill. Again, I see Andrea Hunt has raised her hand. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, or.
Okay. And my question is, I'm advocating for my son who lives in Florida, but I live in North Carolina. Should I work with both states? How would I do that?
Yeah, so both states would be great. If you, it'd be great if you apply for the Kidney Action Summit.
Mhm.
If in one of the open-ended parts, if you can note your son's address as well.
Okay.
Because we've done that in the past where people have been caretakers,
Mhm.
or unfortunately, some people have their family members have passed away. So we did, with this one woman, her mother passed away from kidney
Mhm.
disease. So we did in-district meetings with where her mother lived, which is where her brother and father still live, and then also in the congressional district where she lives as well.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks have any more questions? Okay, well, in that case, I will stop the recording, and then always at the end of these Zooms, we leave it completely free-flowing question time once the recordings are done. So I encourage everyone to still stay on, because you never know what questions pop up from the audience will be relevant to you, or that you can chime in on. So I'd like to thank everyone for participating so far in our January ambassador briefing, and hopefully everybody will join us again in February. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.